Georgia, Tennessee coming up on Saturday, and they don't get any bigger than this, do they, guys? DJ Shockley and Eric Zier are with us as we try to break down a little bit of the Bulldogs and the Volunteers. And I mean, this one's big regardless, but you throw in all the rankings and all the other stuff that's on the line, and it's just flowing over the top of Sanford Stadium. This one's going to be huge this week.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. All the eyes of college football across the country are going to be squarely focused on and in Athens on Saturday afternoon. It might be the biggest game of the regular season this year. Probably will be the biggest game of the regular season. You've got Ohio State and Michigan looming out there, but none will be bigger than this. And you've got a Tennessee team that is playing with an awful lot of confidence. And riding high. You've got a Georgia team that is battle tested, that's been in these big games, obviously playing at home in front of a crowd that, listen, if the ticket request I've received over the past couple of days, any indication, we are going to have fans overflowing onto the bridge, maybe sitting on top of the Tate Center looking in. It is going to be an unbelievable atmosphere. It is going to be special to be a part of. This is why you come to play football at Georgia. It's why you go to Tennessee. It's why you come to the SEC to play in these kind of games. And it's going to be a battle of two juggernauts. And I can't wait for Saturday to get here.
I mean, it's just, it baffles me. People, I'm in the same kind of boat you are with people asking for tickets. Like, I just got a draw full of just random, just tickets ready to just give away. Like, I can just give away. And then I even had a buddy, when I told him, oh, man, I don't have any tickets, say, oh, man, my wife's mad at you now because you couldn't get us in.
It's every time. I'm looking for tickets for myself. I can't even find them for me.
Yeah, man. So that tells you the magnitude of this particular ball game. I mean, you think about how many major recruits are going to be at this game. And I think ultimately, yeah, the game is a big deal. But, you know, Kirby and his staff are always thinking about the recruits and, you know, what's the next guy's coming in, and you're going to put on a good show for them. And obviously the crowd's going to be rocking. Kirby's he was asking for it on Saturday night last week when I talked to him about the fan base and how he wants them to be loud. This is going to be an unbelievable environment. And Z, you mentioned it. This is exactly why you come to the SEC. This is exactly why you come to Georgia, because you expect to play in big time games like this. And it gets no bigger than this when you got number one versus number three, and it's going to be awesome.
I feel like the fan base didn't get to enjoy the win over Florida as much because everybody's in a hurry to get to this one. You know, I mean, Georgia took care of business in Jacksonville, did a nice job in a 22-point win over Florida. Had some injuries in that ball game that are carrying over into this one, as we find out this week that Nolan Smith is done for the year. What does that do for our defense?
Yeah, that's a tough blow, man, because first off, Nolan, as we all know, is the ideal leader you want for your team. He's an emotional leader off the field. He's a leader on the field, and this guy continues to get it done. He plays the way Kirby and that defensive staff wants you to play week in and week out. And I remember one specific instance this past year where the defense is about to come on. Paul just kicks it through the end zone, and everybody runs through the end zone except for one guy. And when I say Nolan Smith gave him an earful just because he didn't run through the end zone, tells you exactly what kind of leader Nolan is. And the next time they did it, guess what? He ran through the end zone. So that's what kind of leader you're going to be missing. But it's why you go out and recruit these guys. This is why you go out and you try to create the depth. Because you're going to have guys go down. You want to have the ability to play so many guys. And we talked about it earlier in the year where we saw Georgia just rotate, subbing in drones of guys for these particular moments. So you expect the MJ Shermans and the Robert Beals and we saw Chambers get a sack last week. We expect all these guys to kind of try to step up and try to fill that void of Nolan, but he absolutely will be missed. Obviously leading the team in sacks. He's a big-time player for the Dogs, but as we all know, the cliche term is next man up, and it absolutely has to be that this week.
Yeah, you know, shocking. When I look across the board at the defense, if there's one guy that I wouldn't want to lose, it's probably Nolan. I mean, it is a big blow to this defense. we've got a lot of young guys, but Nolan was kind of that grizzled veteran that was going to be there. He's a great leader on this football team, as you mentioned. So these are big shoes to fill. The positive thing, right, or the silver lining in this is Kirby has done such a great job recruiting. We have got talented young men that are able to go step in and play that role. You rolled off a number of guys that can jump into that spot, but it is, especially going against this offense with how up tempo they are, with how talented they are. They've been carving opposing defenses up. So losing somebody like Nolan coming into this game, not what you want to do, but it's part of the game of football. And great teams that win championships have got enough depth to overcome the injuries that are going to happen to every single team that plays the game of football. And now it is next man up. And those guys will be ready. This is their time to go step onto the largest stage that you can go step on, and show everybody what they are worth as well. And again, the silver lining for Georgia is indeed the fact that we have recruited so well that we have got 4- and 5-star guys backing up 4- and 5-star guys. Mm-hmm. So if anybody can fill that gap, it's University of Georgia. But it's a tough one to swallow going into this game for sure.
Tennessee's game, at least on offense, is to prevent the opponent from using that depth. They go so fast. The tempo is so extreme. How good is Tennessee in your opinions? If you take away the tempo, if they just go and play like a normal college football team without the tempo, without just trying to catch guys out of position and not ready, how good is this Tennessee team?
This offensive team at Tennessee is good, even without the tempo. You add the tempo in, and it's part of how they're built too. So I mean, it's all strategic with how they go about trying to find yards and get points. But they've got a talented football team. They've got a talented quarterback in Hooker. They've got an extremely talented wideout group. They are solid on the offensive front. They run the football too. This is not just a one-dimensional football team that all I'm going to go do is throw the football. They are balanced, but they use tempo so well. It is critical when you play teams that want to use tempo that you win on first down and that you get teams off the field. If you can prevent that first down, you can shut down up-tempo teams. Once that first down comes, now all of a sudden things start to fall in place with tempo, because that's when you can go use it. So, getting 3 and outs is really, really important. We talked about this last year that, if I'm going to get 12, 13, series during the course of a game, or 8 to 12, whatever that might look like, I've got to have 4 or 5 series where I shut them down. I get them off the field 3 and out. 3 and outs, really, really critical, because if not, I don't care who you are. They are so good and they execute so well on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to go find points. Where up-tempo teams can get in trouble, though, is if they're unable to really get that momentum and they're unable to use up-tempo and get going. And you do that by 3 and outs, 3 and outs, 3 and outs.
I think Z spoke about the run game, which is probably going to be most important in this game. Obviously, we know how good they are passing. You see all the highlights every single week. Yeah, you see Hyatt running wide open. He's got 14 tubs on the year. Yeah, we know that. We know exactly who they're going to be in the pass game. But they're right behind us in the run game. They average 199 yards a game. We average 202. So that tells you exactly how balanced they are when it comes to this offense. And the other big part of this is they got a veteran quarterback. So I think, Scott, if they weren't going up tempo or they are going up tempo, they have a veteran guy that's been there, they've done it. Him and Stetson are the same age. They played a bunch of football. So you got a guy who's going to take care of the football. 1 interception on the year tells you everything you need to know. And this is an offense that, regardless of if they go up tempo or not, they got the guy that's going to make the right decisions with the football. And they fly high. They got confidence that they can do it. I mean, obviously, the big one over Alabama, I think, kind of gave them a confidence that, okay, we can play with some of the best teams in the country. And even though they were playing well, I think there still was a little doubt about could they play with the big boys like Alabama and Georgia here in year 2 on the Heupel. And their 2 top rushers, one is averaging 4.3 yards, one is averaging 5.2. And then here comes Hooker. He's averaging 4.3 as well. So when they get the football, they run it. And when Hooker, takes off, usually positive things happen. So this is going to be an interesting ball game. And I think Z hit it on the head. We have to be really good on those early downs and force them into third and long situations where they have to force the ball down the field. And I think Georgia's good enough to get after it with the front four, good enough to add on one guy and, play coverage on the back end. So it's going to be a fun ball game. The matchups, Kirby and Schulen and Muschamp going to have their hands full, but they're going to have their hands full on the other side as well.
Yeah, Shock, just to add on to that, really important that the four guys that we have with their hand in the ground, or three, and we're bringing one. It is really important that we are able to be disruptive without having to bring linebacker pressure, because you're going to have to spy on Hooker and you're going to have to sit back and give a variety of different zone looks to keep this Tennessee receiving core in front of you and in check. But you can't do that and give Hooker all day long to get back there and scan the field and throw the football, because he's too talented. The receivers are too talented. On top of winning on first down, on top of 3 and outs, we have to be able to apply pressure without bringing linebacker blitzes, safety blitzes. It's got to be with those front four guys. They've got to get in the backfield and they've got to get Hooker on the ground and hit him every chance we can.
Is any defensive group for us exposed more than the other in playing this type of offense?
I think it starts in the secondary. I mean, we got to be honest. Like, when you watch Tennessee and you watch the unique formation that they're in, I mean, they got guys standing nearly on the sideline. The communication on the back end has to be there. That's where Chris Smith comes in. It has to be so crucial in this ball game. You're probably going to play 7-8 DBs in this ball game because of, how fast they're going to go, how many guys are going to be in and out. But the communication has to be huge. And then when they spread you out, I think it's another instance where Z and I were just talking about, they're going to spread you all the way out, and then they're going to leave only 5 or 6 in the box. And your front four have to be able to hold up in the run game, because they want to spread you out and get the numbers they want in the box. If they don't get the numbers, then they're going to throw it outside. So I think it's a total group effort, but I think obviously that front seven, they're going to have a big game. The second, they're going to have a big game simply because of how they stretch you east and west, and then they're going to stretch you north and south as well with the style of offense that they're going to play. So I think it's kind of a toss-up. I think each guy is going to have a big game, and we're going to have the better communication on the back end than we've ever had up to this point.
I'll tell you, maybe the best thing that could have happened to us is the blown coverage that we had last week against Florida, where we were in 2 deep and our deep safety comes up and covers an out route. We've got a takeoff going on the outside that our deep safety should have had and should have gone over the top where they have just a runaway touchdown. Maybe the best thing that could happen to us, because if anything, that got everybody's attention that said, we better be buttoned up. But to answer your question, I think it's everywhere across the board. Every single player that we have, all 11 guys have got to be disciplined, have got to play assignment football. We can't have any bust, because this offensive team from Tennessee is good enough that if there's one bust, they're going to find it and exploit it, and they're going to put points on the board. So it's everywhere where we've got to play at the highest level this weekend.
And Z, one more thing to that particular play, and I think it's a great analogy by you by talking about how that guy has to do his particular job. On that particular play, if he's in the high hole, obviously, they don't have that. But I think that's an instance where one guy trying to do a little bit too much. One guy, because we already have a guy in the flat for that out route, so let that guy do his job. And in this game, it's going to be an instance where a guy's going to say, oh, I remember seeing that on film. I know what's coming, but that may not be your particular job. You have to do your 1/11th in this game and not try to do too much, because we can see on film, you can see where, teams are playing Tennessee and guys are out of place because they're trying to, do something for somebody else. You have to do your particular job in this game, or guess what? Somebody else is going to be open.
We saw Georgia guys last week against Florida use tempo. Any chance that Stetson and company use that as kind of give Tennessee some of their own medicine in this ball game?
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Z. Yeah, I think it's a great changeup, and just because they do it doesn't mean you can't do it. I think Stetson works really well in it. It forces defenses to kind of stay vanilla at times, and it may keep them off balance as well. So I think you got a chance to go up tempo. You got to use it to your advantage as well. And I've seen Georgia do it throughout the year. I've seen Monken talk about it before the game. Hey, we're going to change the tempo after our first down, or we're going to change the tempo after a big play. And that's usually where teams do it. So I'm not saying anything that is going to give anything away. I think all teams do that. But this absolutely is a part of Georgia's offense, and it gives Tennessee something else to prepare for. But also, if we want to just line up in the eye, we want to get in the gun and run it down their throat, or take our time and make sure we get in the right play, which we have done as well, and let Stetson get us in the right play, we can absolutely do that.
Shock, I am fully prepared to bring some cookies, maybe some grooves, right? And you and I are just going to sit and we'll have a little picnic during the game, because I don't think the Oreos, we've already got the cookies, because you and I our ability to get one word in this week, I think, is going to be very limited. So we'll take the weekend off and let Scott do all the heavy lifting. But it is, listen, we're not going to have, we shouldn't have any change to what we want to do offensively because of what they're doing. I've heard some talk and some whispering about, boy, let's just go slow it down and just go try to grind it out. We've got that ability. We use tempo in a way that catches people off guard to go get critical first downs or go score points. We've done a great job of strategically using tempo. I don't think any of that changes. We have to do what can allow us to score points, because we're going to have to put points on the board. And if that's going up tempo the entire time, go up tempo the entire time. But really, I don't think we're going to get out of our DNA. It's going to be the business as usual for the Dogs offensively. And that's mixing in tempo, mixing in slowing it down some. There's going to be points in the game that we do want to slow it down. There's going to be points in the game where we need to go speed it up. But Coach Monken has done a great job with that. Offensively, everybody understands what we're trying to accomplish when we use tempo. And I think we'll see something very similar to what we've seen all year long in terms of our use of that tempo.
Hey, Scott, me and Z already talked last Saturday on the plane that we're going to get all our talking out pregame and postgame, because obviously it's going to be your show when the game starts, and there's no need for us to give any analyzation of anything in this game because it's going to go so fast.
It'll be a call by committee. You guys can help me with the math. My brain doesn't work that fast. Yeah, we're looking forward to it, guys. Great stuff today, and we hope it's a terrific ball game. I'm looking for 4. If anybody's got them, Shock, Z, I need 4.
You and me both.
Game time is 3:30, 3:40, I think, is the official kick time on Saturday. And we'll start the festivities at 11:30 on the Bulldog Sports Network. So it's a full day of Georgia football. We hope you can join us on the radio and beyond. And guys, thanks so much. And we'll see you on Saturday. And the Dogs take on Tennessee. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Oh.